All right, another episode of the Sad Powers podcast. Today we got Andrew Thompson, everybody.
Thank you. No.
What's going on, bro?
Yeah, just it's good to be on your show, man. Thanks for having me. This is appreciated to be on the other side of an interview. Usually I'm used to being in your seat, so this is fun, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so you got your own podcast. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so I got a couple things going on. So right now, the last, I would say, month and a half, 2 months since we were all in quarantine, I kind of started doing some sports interviews. As you can tell, I got all these sports jerseys behind me of my favorite teams and whatnot, but just kind of been connecting with people from Sportsnet. I've been mentored by one of their hockey reporters. So I'm going into sports broadcasting. That's the direction of my aspirations, dreams, goals, career, whatever you want to call it. But that's what I've been doing the last couple months, is doing some one-on-one interviews with some credible sources from the sports world. But now I'm trying to venture out of that too, because not everybody's into sports, but after that, also continuing with the sports thing, I am doing also with a couple other friends, a sports podcast that we just, this is brand new. We only have 2 episodes. It's called Sports Nut Central. So it's kind of a play on words to Sports Net Central, because that's their flagship broadcast, basically the equivalent to Sports Center from TSN. But we changed it, and we actually branded it in a way that makes it ours. So it's Sports Nut. So, our tagline is, we're nuts about sports, and we know other people are too. So we're all sports nuts, So it is kind of a play on words to the TV show on Sportsnet, but we tried to make it our own. And the logo we have is pretty cool. It's actually like a peanut with a hockey stick, tossing a baseball. His foot's on a soccer ball and a football, and etc. Anyway, but that's kind of what I've been up to most recently. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Is it on YouTube or just on the podcast stuff?
It is on YouTube, so we're trying to go on as many platforms as we can. So
nice. We're
actually going to be broadcasting our episodes, starting with episode 3, which I believe we're recording tomorrow. So by then, by the time this airs with you and I, it'll probably be episode 4, maybe by then. We're not sure. We're trying to do 1 a week, but it's going to be on YouTube. It's on Spotify. We're going to slowly get onto Apple. I think we're just waiting for confirmation on that, and then Anchor and some other audio platforms. But we're going to try to have our podcast on YouTube also. And it is right now, actually. The first 2 episodes, just the audio, is on YouTube also.
Awesome. That's cool, man. So what would you tell someone that's not into sports? Should they get into sports? Is tell me why I should get into sports, essentially, is what I'm saying. Or watching sports, not playing them.
Well, if anyone plays sports, they'd probably tell you that it is more fun to play them. But sports is entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about sports, is it's an entertainment industry. So the whole narrative around every sports story, that's what you follow it for also, not just to watch a guy shoot a basket or shoot a puck or throw a baseball or a football, whatever. There's a story behind it. These are human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are human beings that are involved in these sports stories, and it's inspiring. It's I hear some people sometimes say how they don't want to follow sports because they feel like they're a bunch of overpaid babies or whatever, and sometimes, it's hard to argue against the monetary aspect in terms of why that turns people off from sports, because these guys are getting a whole bunch of money to play a game, right? A game that kids can play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only argument I would say, because I've kind of understood that train of thought, but I also thought, what about movies? What about music? These people that are the most successful at it, that are the best at it, the most popular, are making the same amount of money in a lot of instances, right? Some aren't, but the point being that sports is entertainment. So as for why you should watch it, I think one reason is because community. I think it brings people together, like music. So I think sports and music, movies to a degree, but movies is kind of more subjective. There's so many kinds of movies, right? But there's only so many sports. So
I think it's cool that they make a lot of money too, because it's it gives kids something to look up to and dream about, they dream about being a professional baseball player. If they didn't get paid that much, that dream would go away to an extent, I feel like.
Yeah, I think, they're part of the dream, even if for an actor, for example, and I went to school for acting, is the fame and the money thing. But I think behind it, behind it has to be passion. You have to love
Mhm.
what you're doing. I mean, you wouldn't be doing this podcast if you didn't love doing it, right? So that's number one.
Right.
So
Well,
that's
the
got.
point is to get watch time, really.
Well, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why you do it, also. But you wouldn't have even bothered to try if you didn't like it.
Hmm.
That's kind of where I come at it from. So
Well, I just
yeah,
miss talking to people. You can't just call anybody anymore. You have to make a show out of it. You know?
you're right, man. And I missed your laugh too. I was like, oh, this reminds me of being on set of Old Town.
Thanks,
You
man.
know.
I miss your Jim Carrey impression. I'm hoping to get a taste.
Oh, is that okay? So yeah, I'll be ready for that. No problem,
All
man.
right, at some
Alrighty
point.
then.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
It's hard. It's hard, man. You got to compete with Levi Mann, who's also a very good Jim impersonator.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's like crazy that your face can even move like that. I can't open my mouth in that way, you know?
yeah, it takes a little bit of practice. I mean, if you ask
Yeah,
Jim Carrey that, he could tell you how many hours and hours he has spent in front of a mirror just trying to get that going. So
it's awesome. All right, back to sports, man. I recognize the jersey behind you, the 23 Bulls jersey. Obviously, is Michael Jordan. Um, so like, what are the other ones?
we got the Toronto Blue Jays. You'll probably
Hmm.
recognize that one as well.
Yeah, but it's
Uh,
not a specific player. The other one, the Canadians and then the Blue Jays.
Actually, they are the only reason that, I mean, this one here for the Bulls. The documentary, The Last Dance, just came out,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is that was like my first love in sports, was the Chicago Bulls. Like following Michael Jordan, like being alive during that time and being able to watch him
Hmm.
was amazing. So like I think a lot of fans that aren't even big sports fans anymore were watching during that time. I mean, that's what you're finding out even through this documentary, is that he was an athlete. He's probably the most, I mean, up there with Wayne Gretzky, but worldwide, honestly, he's up there with one of the most popular athletes that's ever lived, with like Muhammad Ali, Michael
Every
Jordan.
sport has one, you know, like for golf, it's Tiger Woods. Yeah, it's like they all just have one superstar, I feel like.
Yeah, well, sports do have many nowadays, but in terms of like foundational, like, you can't take away what these guys did for the game. Back to my
Mhm.
jerseys though. So this is the Montreal Canadiens, of course. David Green is a big fan of it, sure, so you've seen him wear that many times. And then you got Brett Favre from the Green Bay Packers, so the NFL. So these are the four major sports in North America,
Nice.
basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So basketball, baseball, hockey, and football. There are players behind these jerseys also. This Blue Jays one is Troy Tulowitzki. Just, I think he either retired or he's close to retiring. He got traded to the Yankees, and his career is basically done. So he spent most of his latter part of his career with the Blue Jays. And then the Montreal Canadiens is my favorite player behind it, is Andrei Markov, a Russian player who just retired officially during quarantine here. So that's
It
my
sounds
jerseys.
so weird to hear you say he got traded to the Yankees. His career is officially done. Like what? That doesn't make sense to me.
It's like where you start your career, you hope, is with the
Yeah.
New York Yankees, who that's a team that, you parallel the Montreal Canadiens to in terms of championships, because
Mhm.
Montreal has the most in hockey. And then, of course, you got the Yankees, who have the most in baseball. But the Yankees are still consistently good and continuing to keep, I mean, Montreal's fans' interest never goes away, whether they're critiquing or cheering them. But the Yankees seem to continue to have a good team year after year, no matter what, and stay competitive. So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm trying to talk to other local athletes here in Niagara as well. So just talked to my buddy Chris Lewis, who I just had a really great discussion with, about the riots and what's happening in the States, and just the racism and all that kind of thing. He's an African American, born in Canada, but he had just an amazing message, actually, the other day when I spoke with him about racism. And I know we're kind of shifting gears with topics here, but
Mhm.
it's hard not to address what's been going on with George Floyd's murder in the States, and just how we're all talking about it now. And I think that's a great thing. And I think a lot of us, even who don't think we have a voice or should have a voice, we do, because we can support and also speak against the discrimination and the racism that is out there. And my friend Chris had a fantastic message, just how, this isn't just a black issue, but it's also a human issue, and it's everybody's problem. It's not just their
Mhm.
problem. So that was a powerful thing. And I'm releasing an interview with Chris about his basketball career. He played up to the college level, and we discuss the Chicago Bulls, all kinds of stuff. But we also dedicated the episode to the memory of George Floyd, and just to speak out against what happened there. So
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's so fucked up, like that shit happened, and like all the riots and shit going on. Do you think like coronavirus numbers are gonna go up because of like the riots?
it's hard to say. I mean, it's hard to see it not, because the states have basically reopened, right? I mean,
Hmm.
almost all the way around. So their population's so huge in comparison to ours. So it's hard not to say, how is it not going to continue to spread, right? I mean, I think the issue with this virus is that, by the sounds of it, it may not go away for a while. And I think in Canada, we're doing a bit of a better job, honestly, handling the whole thing, whether we're comfortable with it or not. Staying home and maybe prolonging the reopening of the province, which we are the biggest province in Canada, is probably for the best. And
Hmm.
the states may have done it a little bit early, but at the same time, like, you don't want to live in fear forever either, but you
Right.
also want to be wise, right? So
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many people gathered together. It's almost like, basically, a lot of folks are saying like, "Oh, it looks like the pandemic's over because the riots are happening without any thought." It's just, but you can't fault those folks for standing up for what they're doing. And it's kind of hard to have an opinion about it, almost, because it's like it's almost it's our fight, but it's even more so their fight as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's probably going to spread, but we just got to be wise about it, whether we're in the States or here. But yeah, it's hard not to see it spreading at least a little bit.
Hmm.
Hear a train going by behind you.
Yeah, yeah. I live out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, like, that's like I only like podcasts at certain times and stuff because the internet is like really weird out here. Um,
Whereabouts are you exactly?
well, I shouldn't say that just in case any crazy fans want to come find me. You never know. Make it famous one day. I like to call myself the poor man's Joe Rogan because he's moving to Spotify, right? So I'm hoping to get all his
Right,
YouTube
right.
fans. What do you think about him moving to Spotify? Do you listen to Joe Rogan at all, even?
Oh, I've listened to Joe a few times for sure. They call him the Podfather, right? And
Yeah.
I, I don't know if he said he doesn't like that title, but like whatever he's done, I mean, has caught on, and it's obvious what he's done is just kind of have these open discussions with people from all walks of life. So
Hmm.
how do you not want to listen to that, right? And there's been some interesting ones, no doubt about it. And it's kind of cool because a lot of us are trying now to do the same thing in our own spheres and our own circles here in
Hmm.
Niagara. During quarantine here, so many podcasts are starting. I mean, I think communication is up, even though
Yeah.
we can't speak in person. So, but Joe Rogan's definitely a flagship entrepreneurial sort of pioneer for the whole
Hmm.
podcasting industry. And I don't know the details of why he went to Spotify. It sounds like it's a good money deal. I heard how much it went for,
Yeah,
but
they say 100 million.
as
That's just, I don't know what's true though. Yeah.
what's the reasoning behind that? Like, if I can ask you, what's the reasoning behind that?
I
Any
just
idea
keep
why you
hearing
wanted to?
everyone say 100 million. I don't know. Oh, what's like the reason behind what? Sorry.
Yeah,
A
just
hundred
curious
million?
why. Well, just curious why he is exclusive to Spotify now.
Oh yeah, because they're paying him something, right? And yeah, nothing's gonna change. It's just he's just gonna go exclusive to them in like a year or something. So it's like a slow transition.
So it'll be basically like you have to go on Spotify in order to find him. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting.
Hmm.
I mean, he's good. I mean, what has he inspired you? Like, who are some of the people that you follow that have inspired you for your podcast?
Yeah, so Joe Rogan's definitely a big one, and this is like kind of what I wanted to do is like I've had like random people on like that I've met through YouTube and stuff, so like all over the world and just like all walks of life. So I just like kind of like that, and it's like the whole watch time thing is what started it too. But it's like Theo Vaughn I like, and it's weird like so I just had someone on and they were telling me like all these people you watch had a name before they started podcasting. There's no one that gets famous through podcasting. So he almost made me like try to think, reconsider it all, and maybe like, it's like, is this the right thing to do? Like to start a podcast when you don't really have any fans yet, or should you try to make some crazy videos to get those fans, get those viral videos first, or something? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to find your niche, right? I mean, you have to do something that's still authentically you.
Mhm.
I think you got to be creative, and you can use and learn from what other people have and adapt it and make it your own. Like I've had the same discussion with people from Sportsnet or anybody in the industry right now. I want to make an entertaining show, also doing impersonations. Like so, basically, use whatever's in your toolbox, right? If you're an
Mhm.
actor, if you have some talents that you can incorporate into your videos to make them more entertaining, but they're still you, like they're still part of you. You're not trying to be something you're not, kind of thing.
Right.
Use what's in your toolbox and then make your product. That's kind of what I've been taught is, that's what I'm going to start using is my acting, my impersonations and stuff. And I think that that's what will help me maybe, if you want to call it a following, get a bit of a following there, and then also have my more serious stuff like my interviews and whatnot. But you have to have a couple of different streams of what you're doing, right? If you're in entertainment or communication, broadcasting, podcasting, there's a lot of, we have all the resources in the world to do whatever we want to do in terms of video and be creative with it nowadays. So
Mhm.
just got to be yourself. I think that's the thing, is be the most authentic self you can be, kind of like what Freddie Mercury said, like when Bohemian Rhapsody came out last year, how amazing that was, just to be yourself. And that's one of the best things you can do. And that's the most authentic thing you can do, is be you.
Mhm. You gotta get like people to see that. You gotta get your stuff out there somehow, because there's so much content right now for people to choose, and it's like, why would they listen to you when they could listen to Joe Rogan or something? You know what I mean? Instead, or like, there's so many people with podcasts or shows or whatever, right?
Totally, yeah. So you got to be unique, but don't sell yourself short, I would say.
Mhm.
Work with a lot of people. I took a look at your YouTube channel. You got a ton of videos. You're consistent. You got
Mhm.
a few hundred subscribers already. I mean, you're ahead of the game as far as I'm concerned. Like, the fact is, you just got to do it and be consistent. So Denzel Washington had a great quote from this inspirational video. I don't know if you've seen it, where he's on stage talking to all these actors and producers and all the backstage people, and he's like, you know, discipline and consistency are what are two of the biggest keys to success.
Mhm.
And how true is that, right? I mean, if you're disciplined, if you're focused, stay in your lane. Just stay in your lane. That's one of the best things I've heard so far. And
Mhm.
if you're doing that, whether or not you're getting 100 million subscribers or 50,000 or 10,000 or 100 or 1,000, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, just stay in your lane. Be the best you can be, as cliche as that sounds, but just keep doing it. I think that's the key, is whether or not your following is increasing huge now or later, just keep doing it. It'll be a natural byproduct of success as long as you stick with it.
Mhm. Yeah, I should be happy about like the 40 people that do watch, Like some people get
Absolutely.
even less, get less views than that. So I should be happy that 40 people give a fuck or whatever. you know?
Yeah, I mean, like, if people care, and if it's like 10 people, but they're 10 credible people who can give, like, one person can give you an opportunity. That's the thing
Mhm.
too. You might only have a few thousand views on your channel or something in a few months, or whatever. But one person can watch it, the right person, to give you an opportunity or to give you some new strategy for how
Mhm.
to increase it. And all you got to do is stick with your content, and that's got to be your focus, right? Is what message do you want to send? What do you want to put out there? Why are you doing it? If
Mhm.
it's compelling what you're doing, because Joe Rogan it's pretty clear. I don't know enough about him as a person, like as deep as some of the people that listen to him do, but I think he has a pretty good why as to why he's doing this. Yeah, he's got a huge following. Okay, but
He
did
loves it,
he
yeah.
did he wake up with it? No, yeah, he loves it. So
Mhm.
he loves to learn, right? If you notice, I mean, podcast hosts, like, they're taking in so much information from all different walks of life, like you said,
Mhm.
and that's only going to make you more versatile and make more people want to watch you.
Right. That's why I was like, when you said you wanted to talk about sports, I was like, fuck yeah, because I'm not into sports, and to me that's perfect. So then it's like you can like talk to me about different shit, and then maybe like I'll get into sports, because like you never know, it's like something else to get into. And really, like, I should, like, I'm surprised, like, I've never really gotten into sports, like, at all. Like, I kind of did a tiny bit with like the Raptors when they were like in the championship and then eventually won. That was pretty cool. And there was some crazy moments. Like, do you remember that shit?
Oh, 100%. That was that that reminded me of the 90s Bulls when I was watching the
Mhm.
Raptors last year. Kawhi Leonard was Jordan-esque, and I even said that. I remember watching him, and then all of a sudden the ESPN guy was like, "He was Jordan-esque." I'm like, "Yep, I guess I'm
Damn.
on the right
Yeah.
track with sports." That's pretty cool. But like, not to toot my horn, but it was like, "Oh wow!" Like people are seeing what I'm seeing as well. And what a time, man. I mean, that, again, you might not have been a big sports fan, but you were watching, right?
hmm
So what was it that attracted you to watch it, even if you're not a big sports fan?
Just because it was such a big deal, and like I knew it was like history in the making or whatever. Um, just being close to Toronto, Toronto being our team, and it's like, uh, so it was just a big deal. It's like I watched, like, I'm not into watching UFC fights, but I watch fucking Conor McGregor versus Mayweather. Like, it's just one of those things that like everybody's gotta see. Like, I don't know.
It's true, man. I mean, you add enough entertainment value, and whether
Mhm.
you're a fan or not, you're gonna watch, right?
Yeah, I just want to be in the loop, you know. I know everyone's gonna be talking about it for like the next couple of weeks or whatever. So, yeah, it's like you don't want to be left out of the loop and not have seen the fight or the games or whatever. It was just, it was cool. It was something to be like excited about, you know. It was like pumped about. Like, I wish that it was like that they played more because they won in like they could have played another. They could have lost that game and played another one, and then won in the other one, right? And that's what I wanted to happen, just so there was another game, right? But it was almost perfect, but it was still pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty neat, man. Like, I think it would have been even cooler if they won in Toronto, but
Mhm.
again, the party was there, regardless of whether they were home or not yet. They were in Golden State, you know.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing run, like you said, and even UFC, like you just mentioned there, like George St. Pierre, I think they said he's the most famous athlete either in the world or he's close.
Oh,
Um,
really? That's awesome. He's sick. That's dope. Go on.
yeah,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. He's from Montreal, right? So
hmm
he comes out and drops the puck for the Habs once in a while. And one of my contacts from Montreal is his name's Stu Cowan. He writes for the Montreal Gazette, and he had an amazing interview with GSP, which I had the pleasure of asking him about. Not, I didn't get to speak with GSP yet,
hmm
but he
One
did,
day.
and one day, right? And he's just, but the guy is so down to earth, right? I mean, he walked into the gym, didn't act like he was any better than anybody else. He walked
hmm
in, carried himself like a normal human being, did the interview for half an hour with Stu, and just the way he was able to impact his father's life, George St. Pierre, from his success was amazing, right? And just to hear those stories and how you can measure success differently, right? I mean, it's monetarily sometimes, but of
hmm
course just who you become, I think, is the biggest success for anybody, is the message that you convey, right? So you can have all the success, money, fame in the world and still be miserable, as we've seen from some
Right.
folks, right?
And I think it's important, like what you spend your money on, where you invest, right? That's like how you change the world. Um, Unfortunately, that's like the best way to change it. Is just where you put your money matters. If you spend all your money on shitty things and give it to shitty companies that do bad stuff, you're giving them more power, um, or whatever. That I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah.
Well, it makes sense, right? I mean, it's just where you put your treasure, man. Like
hmm
that's where your heart is also, if you will. um, and I think yeah, you just have to invest in things that are going to do good for the greater good, right? For
hmm
people. And I think you're seeing that now with people donating to the states. Just today, a former Montreal Canadian player, African American guy, PK Subban, just donated $50,000 to George Floyd's daughter, and the NHL
That's
matched
awesome.
it. So she just got $100,000 just like that, and it's just money. It will never ever replace her father, but it's at
hmm
least a start to the healing process, just to show that people care, strangers care, if you will.
Right.
She doesn't know PK, or maybe she'll
hmm
get to know him, whatever. But that's the thing, right? I mean, I think money shows heart. Also, it's like whatever you do with your money shows your heart and what you care about, and that can still change a life. You can still
hmm
change a life with what you have. So yeah, it's all about, it's not just what you get, it's what you give, right? Kind of like what the Beatles said years ago. It's what you give. I mean, one of the greatest quotes I've heard also is, make your living through your giving. Love that.
That's awesome. I love that too, man. Damn. So what's your
Yeah. So,
favorite sport, man? What are you into? What do you play?
well, right now it's ball hockey because, ironically, as big of a hockey fan as I am, Montreal behind me here is my most favorite sport is ice hockey to watch
Mm,
and to analyze, what have you. But I play ball hockey. I'm still not a great skater at the moment. So
mm.
David Green and I are still going to need to take some skating lessons because we love the game, but man, we are not the greatest skaters right now. So for me, it's ball hockey right now.
That'd be funny. Now I want to play ice hockey against you guys because I feel like I can maybe win because I'm not that bad at skating. So it'd be nice to beat you guys at something. David Green's so competitive. He's crazy good at ping pong. He's good at chess. Crushes me all the time. But don't tell him
Oh,
I said that. He doesn't listen to this podcast, so I'll never know I said that.
oh, we'll make sure he hears it. We'll make sure. That's awesome, man. I love that you're a good I love that you're a good skater. See, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
you never know until you've talked to people, right? So you
Mhm.
just assume I'm like I don't know. I don't know what anybody assumes, but I love the game of hockey. My brother and sister were natural skaters. I grew up not being a fan of skating. I didn't like it. It just wasn't my thing. And then got into basketball, ball hockey, soccer, slow pitch, baseball, and now ball hockey seems to be. And David Green and I played in a couple leagues together as well, which I ran, and then it's an easy game to play. You can play street hockey. That's what it is. It's basically street hockey, but it's organized,
Mhm.
right? And anybody can try it. So it's a Canadian game, and I think that's the beauty of it is that hockey is so cool because it's ours. Like it's our game, right? I mean, on the national stage, when you see the Olympics, Canada versus the U.S. or whoever, and we win it, it's just like it's like the Raptors, right? We're all cheering for the same team.
Mhm.
It's Team Canada. So that's another reason to watch sport. Also, is just the community, right? Like everyone goes out together to the bars or to the restaurant to watch the game. I think that's what I like about sports is that even if you're in certain leagues, like you have different teams like the NHL, NFL, whatever. But when Team Canada's on and everyone's going for the same team, it's a blast. Like it's so much
Yeah.
fun. Like 2010, in 2010 when we won in Vancouver, when Sidney Crosby scored the winning goal in overtime, it was just like Clifton Hill. We were all in Clifton Hill. It was packed. I
Mhm.
mean, the cops were driving up and down Clifton Hill with their sirens on, celebrating with us. It's something that you don't normally see. So it's just cool, man. I mean, sports
Mhm.
is good for the community aspect as well, just like music.
Yeah, I remember when men and women won in the Olympics the same year. That was like another crazy moment that I was like, damn, this is like a moment of history, you know? It was like very cool. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of like just other times that were crazy now. That are like that I've lived through. Can you think of any cool ones?
Just in general in society.
Yeah, yeah. That you've been like, have you been like there for any like crazy times, or have you been at like any sports events, or is like,
Oh, well, yeah. If I think back, I mean, I still have to this day have never been to a playoff game in any sport, and
Mhm.
it's just they're crazy expensive or whatever. But
Right?
been part of some pretty cool atmospheres in Montreal. The Bell Center is where it's where it's at. A buddy of mine's brother actually made the NHL in 2013, 14, and played his first ever NHL game at the Bell Center against the Canadiens. So that was like surreal, and I wasn't even
Mhm.
there, but being connected to that story and knowing the guy who was playing it was just surreal. It was like the closest to me ever playing in the NHL because I knew somebody. And I remember talking to him at a bar years ago and was like, man, I believe in you. I believe you can do this. He had just been drafted by the Carolina Hurricanes. His name's Justin Shug.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, I really believe in you. Like, you can do this, And he only got to play 3 games in the NHL. But how many people can say that? I mean, like, he got to be on the biggest stage in all of hockey. And the first game he ever played was in Montreal, which is, of course, my favorite team. And again, known as the mecca of hockey in a lot of markets, right? Toronto will have another thing to say about that. Um, but yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, again, I wasn't there for that, but being part of the experience of it and kind of journeying along with and watching Justin's journey was really neat. So that was really cool. I'm trying to think of something else in terms of either sports or in general, but I think right now, being part of this the journey that I'm on, with broadcasting and I'm just kind of staying in that lane right now, right? So that's kind of where my
Hmm.
focus is. And honestly, it's not just about me. I really love being part of the Meridian Center here, where we hold all kinds of. I work there part time, and we hold concerts, we hold sports, entertainment of all kinds. Cirque du Soleil was actually supposed to be one of the shows we had in May, but it got canceled because of COVID. So that would have been a pretty big deal to have Cirque du Soleil here for 2 weeks. But
Hmm.
the Niagara Ice Dogs, the Niagara River Lions, they're part of the fabric of the Meridian Center, and that's kind of how I'm able to. Like, the Ice Dogs have been so supportive of my journey. I'm an employee of the Meridian Center, and yet they're allowing me to like go interview their players and their coaches, cover the team for just because I asked them to, you know.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of a bunny trail thought. I mean, I wasn't
Mhm.
part of any epic live events, maybe as much as I would love to have been in person, but I certainly can say watching or being around it for sure.
Hmm. That's cool, man. If you could have any superpower, what would you pick, you think?
Oh man, I wish I could turn my camera on to show you my Superman poster over here. It's got to be Fly. Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. I big Superman fan. Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman from the '90s is my favorite all-time TV show, and I got the chance twice now to meet Dean Cain, who played Superman and Clark Kent in that show. One of the nicest human beings I've ever met. Was a huge inspiration. It was like him and Jim Carrey were my two favorite role models growing up. So definitely got to say Fly.
Superman can do other things. Like, why don't you pick laser eyes or super strength? He doesn't just fly.
That was my next one. I was like
Yeah,
the heat vision. The heat vision was my next
yeah,
one, I think. I've had dreams of actually flying and doing heat vision. Actually, I can say that. As funny as
that's
that
awesome.
sounds.
That's good, man. That's good. Yeah. What do you think about ghosts? Do you believe in ghosts? I asked everybody this for some reason.
That's funny. I like the random questions. I love it, man. Actually, for me, like, I'm a spiritual guy. I mean, I'm a Christian.
Hmm.
That's a new development as of like the last 8 years. I grew up kind of Catholic, and then I was like, I don't know, and then looked into the paranormal and all that kind of stuff. And I believe in angels and demons. I do believe those. I believe in those. I don't know that I believe in just like ghosts, period, but
Hmm.
I think that there's specific entities in the spiritual realm that exist. Yeah, that's the best way I guess I could answer it.
Damn. So you think there's like some sort of other dimension possibly that we can't sense?
Yeah, I definitely believe in the spiritual realm. There's no
Hmm.
question. I mean, I've studied it thoroughly. I still study it actually,
Interesting.
and I think that it's definitely one of the more interesting topics of our day. And it's like taboo to talk about. Like, can't talk about religion, can't talk about politics. But one of the biggest conversational topics nowadays is like with people discovering spirituality of any kind. They'll often say, "I'm not religious, but I am spiritual."
Hmm.
So they acknowledge, at least to some degree, that there is a spiritual realm that we can't see, and I do
Right.
believe in that. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I would say I do believe in the unseen world, if you will.
I'm down to talk about whatever, and like I try to stay open to as much stuff as I can, because like, to be honest, I have no idea what's going on. I know that I'm experiencing this weird thing. I think I'm in this body, but I don't even know if that's real. You never know. Like, it's just so strange to be experiencing all this, right? It's almost like too perfect. Like, the world is like so perfect. We have this moon. It's like, without the moon, it's like everything would be so different. Like, it produces all this light and stuff, and it's like that was like an asteroid that like hit the Earth and stuff. It's like life is just incredible and strange and just like so, like, I don't know. It's so, yeah. It like, there definitely like could be, or like maybe even has to be, some sort of higher power, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's an easy one to debate, right? Because
Hmm.
there's no proof to an extent, uh, guaranteed proof 100% that there is a God or there isn't. I
Hmm.
believe there is one, but can I show you? Like, can I, you know, physically show you? No, but that's kind of where belief comes in. We all believe in something, even if we don't believe there's a God. We do believe in something, right? We have that in us to believe in something. But I mean, you look at the way the world's designed, and obviously the world in terms of human beings, we're not perfect. So it's hard to, you can make arguments on both sides of the coin, right? I mean, from all different walks of life. I mean, I've studied other religions also. That's the thing. I don't stay ignorant to other religions other than just my own, if you will. And I
Mhm.
prefer to call mine a faith and a relationship, because if anything, there's different definitions of, Christianity and Buddhism, Taoism, Islam. There's so many different versions of them. Like you got the extremists, you have, so all that to say, I mean, you kind of gotta find what makes sense to you, I guess. And I believe this is what makes sense to me. But I do believe in a relationship with our creator. I believe in our creator. And I think that that's more relatable, is a God who relates to us. And that's where, Jesus comes in. I mean, if this guy really existed, if he walked the earth and did the things that the Bible says that he did, if he was really God in the flesh, like that's a big deal. It's like, whoa, that's
Mhm.
interesting, right? So I've looked into that more, and not everybody believes it, but I try to stand back and not have an argument. I try to have a healthy, respectful discussion about it, and I
Mhm.
think that's a good place to start, because if you just preach to anybody, if you're just preaching, people are going to turn you off real quick, right? I think I've become a better listener. As much as I am open to share about my faith, I certainly prefer to listen to somebody who maybe has a different journey and doesn't believe for whatever reason or what have you. So
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So like, what do you think is like the like of like Buddhism, for example, like with reincarnation? Do you think that's a possibility?
yeah, I've looked into that, and I personally don't. I don't think that it makes sense with regards to not knowing you ever existed. Like just that's one I just can't get my head around. Is like,
Hmm.
was I a bee before this life, or was I another person, or what
Right.
have you? Like some people will say they have memories and stuff from other lives. I never have. Um,
Hmm.
for me, I just believe in eternal life. I believe that we do live on after this life. I don't think that we become something else. I think we are going to be another version of us, in a sense. Like if
Hmm.
you want to talk about heaven and hell and stuff like that, which is another topic altogether. But reincarnation, for me personally, I don't. Now, I have studied it and I understand the belief behind it. I've looked into different versions of Buddhism as well, and there's some positive things to take from it. I think that's what I try to do, is take positive things from each religion and say, hey, where can we be on the same page here?
Hmm.
Why don't we try that as well? So in that particular instance with reincarnation, I don't, but that doesn't mean that I don't respect, or I think that's the biggest thing, is people don't have a healthy enough respect for our differences of
Hmm.
belief, especially. So yeah, that's a long-winded answer, like a lot of my answers are, but
No, it's good.
yeah,
I love it. I feel like what they all have in common is just like be good to each other, which is good, like they have stuff in common and stuff.
right,
Yeah. I
yeah,
had
no doubt. I mean,
another question I was gonna ask, but then I forgot. Yeah, but sorry. Um,
no, that's okay.
yeah, what are your thoughts on aliens? Do you think aliens have visited Earth, or is that possible?
Well, I mean, I guess I'd have to say no, only because as much as the conspiracy theories and some of the evidence that's out there about Area 51 and all that kind of stuff, I'm probably ignorant on this subject. So, I mean, if I had to say yes or no, I would say no, only because I just don't think, for me personally, that there's been enough evidence that I've seen. And I'm sure somebody can be a Google expert right now and go on and
Mhm.
show me, hey, here's some evidence. But I personally don't. But again, I have a certain worldview from a certain faith. And that doesn't mean that I'm just like closing my mind off and becoming, committing intellectual suicide,
Mhm.
as some people put it, right? Like that's the thing about blind faith, if you will. Some of us do have, to a degree, blind faith, because I'm believing in something I can't see. So,
Mhm.
um, but I do believe in things that I can't see, to a degree, right? So in terms of aliens, I would say no, but I'm not saying I would never be willing to hear why people do. It's interesting, you know. But for me, I guess so far the evidence for me, uh, there's not enough of it there for me to believe that, I guess.
Right. Yeah, it would seem strange to me as well for them to like come here and be so secretive, right? Like if you were gonna go to another planet and there's like a bunch of bugs on there or whatever, something way less superior to you, then you wouldn't like be so secretive and like secretly probing people and somehow keeping it hidden from everyone. It just doesn't make sense logically, right? To me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. Even with what I believe, I mean, there is some logic behind it. There's actually evidence, at least written evidence. I mean, yeah, I believe in the Bible and stuff,
Hmm.
but there was also like 500 eyewitnesses to a man that resurrected from the dead. So for me, it's hard to ignore that now. I believe that, and I haven't seen or talked to those people. They've long passed on. So in a way, you're kind of believing with the evidence that's there. So somebody may very well say, "We have evidence. We experienced aliens. In our
Hmm.
presence. We physically saw them. What have you." So I can't deny somebody's experience, right? I
But
mean, I can't. But
yeah, like with the Bible, it's like it's just written in there. Someone just wrote that, right? So like you don't know if those like 500 witnesses were there and like how was there proof that he was like, like with the what are your arguments against that if someone says that?
well, I mean, like again, and I try not to argue. I would just
Hmm.
discuss it. But
Well, you know what I mean,
I think,
yeah.
yeah, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I believe in it, and I know the
Hmm.
Bible can be very controversial. I'm not unaware of that. So,
Hmm.
um, like at the end of the day, I just believe that God is who He said He is, and that the Bible is like an instruction manual for again how to treat each other, like how to
Right.
love each other, and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of evidence, yeah, I mean, again, there's also a lot of scholars who have delved into the history behind it. So there's actually like the historical figure of Jesus, and then there's like the biblical evidence, I guess you could say. So if you trace back time, there was a lot of evidence to suggest that this person actually walked the earth, and therefore these miracles, all these recorded instances, has a lot of validity to them because it's been
Hmm.
studied, it's been deeply studied. I mean, if this guy actually did miracles, all these things that we just have no concept of ever experiencing in our time, at least, I mean, I can say honestly, I haven't seen Christ in the flesh, but I have seen some miracles. I can honestly attest to that in terms of healings and just some things that it's hard to even explain just in words. Right? It'd be another whole episode to get into that. But again, I think that doing my homework on it and going into the study of all religions and then coming back again, all of a sudden, like more and more people are having dreams. Like Islamic folks are having dreams of Jesus, and are converting to Christianity because they experienced for the first time ever an authentic love. Like somebody from Islam, it's on YouTube, you can check it out. Even said, I had this encounter with God and Jesus, and it was like on anything I've ever experienced before. My religion didn't offer me that, like in terms of just that pure love, just that pure, like, I love you for who you are. I created you. And like, it was so strong. Like, it was just like, it's powerful stuff if you go and check out testimonies like that. So, I mean, we could argue the Bible all day long, and I'm not a good arguer for it. Like, I've taken two Bible college courses as part of my internship I took years ago at my church. But again, like it's experience, right? I think more people are experiencing God,
Hmm.
and not everybody has. But if you really want to, you can ask, and
Hmm.
it'll either happen or it won't. But that's it's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard because I feel like I have experienced it on a personal level to note or to date, but. I don't know. I don't know what I did right, but I feel like I've been given some evidence, even on a personal level,
Hmm.
to say that it's true for me.
Like some people are like against religion, and I don't really understand that because all pretty much all religions to me seem like they're not really doing any harm. Like it's like people that are religious seem like they're usually good people. They're not gonna fuck you over. They're not, someone that is gonna hurt you like really bad or something usually isn't like a religious person. Those people are like kind most of the time, at least from my experiences, right? I don't want to be too general or whatever. There's always exceptions to the rule. Um, yeah, so I never really understood when someone's like hardcore atheist and they just hate on religion, say that it's evil and it's like caused um all these problems. Like the religion, like it has done a lot of good for the world. Even like if you just think about like the fact that we have years now, that was started because like year zero is when like Jesus was born, right? And like now it's year 2020. So it's like without that, it's like what would we be doing? Even like what, we wouldn't even have a year. How weird would that be without religion? You know?
Yeah, it's interesting if you look at all the faiths too. Is like we actually measure time by the birth of Christ. It's like why
Mm.
that there's something about that. You know, it's something significant. But you know, there are some extremists in all religions too, which you know we won't name what they are. But I mean, even in Christianity, I can say for myself, we've had some ugly days. So it's
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate, right? I mean, some Christians and some aren't even actually genuinely Christians. I wouldn't say that have presented Christ or the Bible message the way it should be, and that's there's enough evidence for that. It's very clear, you know, any hateful sort of discrimination against any community, and you know, I'm talking about the gay community, and you know, a lot of that stuff has come out, and it's just awful. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, God is for everyone. Like that's what bothers me, and we know what the Bible says on certain subjects, so it's hard to get into that and talk about it because we don't fully understand it. You know, like we don't fully understand somebody from a different walk of life or what have you. I mean, I love people from every background. It's the beauty of it is like, you know, I don't know. Like I just think love is just the universal language we need. It's just the most obvious. And I think that one of the things I've learned also, and it even comes from the Bible, is that, you know, people will know Christians by their love, by their loving
Mm-hmm.
kindness. And a lot of religions do have that kind of background, right? So again, you can start there and you got to act it out. You can't just say it. So I think some folks have done a good and bad job of representing what faith and religion could be all about or should be all
Yeah, for sure, man. Um, this has been great. Do you want to just like plug all your stuff one last time and then we'll call it?
about. Yeah, sure, man. Well, thanks for having this talk today, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's been nice to be on the other side of it for sure. But yeah, I appreciate you reaching out, man. No doubt about it. Yeah, so right now I'm again pursuing the sports broadcasting route. So Sports Nut Central is the name of our podcast. You can find that on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, eventually Apple, I think, as well. And just my YouTube channel is Andrew T CK23. That stands for Clark Kent because I was a big Superman fan. So that's where you can find my interviews that I'm doing. Some of my past interviews, I got some comedy stuff. You know, my Jim Carrey impressions are on there as well.
Awesome. I'll
So
check it out, bro, for sure. Okay, keep
yeah,
going.
but yeah, thanks thanks again for having me, Sad. I appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, no problem, man. You're awesome. It was a good talk. Maybe I could be on your show one day.
Of course, man. We'd love to have you. Love to
Awesome.
have you.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
buddy. Appreciate it. All right. See you, man.
Thanks, buddy.